Hi guys, it's Dakota. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to the Hallowed Cauldron. We are working on a new series called the Element Ritual series. And what we're doing is I'm covering each of the elements independently and individually. And the end result of this series is going to be a ritual format of introducing ourselves to each of the elements, and in return asking the elements, learning about each of the elements and the aspects of the elements, the correspondence of the elements, what they are all about, and how we use them in ritual and in our spellcrafting. Now, I know that there are a lot of people that do not use, like they don't call in the elements, or they don't use the directions or anything like that in their rituals or their spellcrafting, and that really isn't about this. That's none of my business whether you do or you don't. That's entirely up to you. But I guess the thing that is leading me to have this series, whether you're Wicca or just want to do spells or whatever it is, I think that it's really, really important to understand the elements that you're working with, because, and so then on top of that, once you learn about the elements and you understand the elements and why you're using that particular element for your spell work, then you might want to invoke the powers of that element, because that is only going to help you. It feeds, it lends power to your spell crafting and to your rituals. So, and what I mean by that is the four elements, earth, air, fire, water, they are in everything of the universe. If we take the candle and we look at the candle, it's solid, it's tangible, I can touch it, it's tangible. It is of earth. It is of earth. However, the wax was probably melted at some point and poured into a mold. Wax then takes on the characteristic of water, as well as earth, as well as, once you light that wick, fire. Once the smoke starts to rise, air. Once the candle starts to melt, back to water. So if you really look around, and I've been asking you to do this at the end of each video, whatever element it is that we're working with that day or that video, is to spend a week learning about that element. Not just reading a book, not just watching videos, etc., but to be experiencing it. Where is it? Where is it in your life? How is it assisting you in your life? What are its strengths and what are its weaknesses? Because it's really important when you're doing your magic. I mean, it just is really important. So I guess for me, whether you think it's Wicca or you don't think it's Wicca, I'm not going to say it's either. What I'm going to say is that it's important to me when I'm doing ritual, or whether I'm doing spell work, spell crafting, whatever you like to call it, I'm working with the elements. I mean, I'm working with the elements, or I'm working with herbs, or I'm working with, fire. That is an element. And so therefore, if I'm working with it, there's a reason why I'm working with that element. Sometimes you feel like using fire for your spell. Sometimes it's water. Sometimes it's air. So why? Why do you feel that way? Why do you want to use air? Oh, because the book said to use air. Really? Why though? But why? Get to the whys. Dig down and get to the whys. Why is it telling you that call on the element of air? Use this because the element of air is such and such. That's right, the element is such and such. The element can be the element of air. We talked about it. Go to that video, watch it. I don't want to go into it again. Same thing with fire. We talked about it, and now we're back, and now we're on water. So it's the same thing with water. Water has its strengths and its weaknesses. Its strength is that it can become a tsunami. It can become a flood. It can drown. Can be very harmful, very destructive. Water is very destructive. And yet, water can be very calm. Who's ever seen just a lake that's just calm, not a ripple, just calm? Or even if you go to the beach, sometimes the waves, depending on the moon phase, depending on which coast you live on, talked about that one time in one of the videos, and I was talking, and it might have been the elements, and because I've done an element video, I think, before. I'm from the West Coast, now live on the East Coast, and the energies of the two oceans are night and day. Night and day for me. Where when I look at the Atlantic Ocean, for me, and look, this is how weird it is when I did talk about this in one of the videos. I can't remember which one, so pardon me for repeating, but I think it's worth repeating because we are working with the element of water today. Me personally, because I'm from the West Coast, water is very different. Water on the East Coast, the Atlantic Ocean, at least here where I am, in the summer, it's almost like it can get like bath water. It's very uncomfortable. You can't even get cooled off. It doesn't matter if it's summer on the West Coast or not. The water is cold. You're going to get cooled off. It's cold. The energies, the strength, and the power of the water on the West Coast, I mean, it is visibly noticeable. The waves on the East Coast, the waves, so at least where I'm from, the waves just sort of come and they come and they just, it's a constant wave motion. On the West Coast, it's kind of little ripple of waves, and then all of a sudden you can see it growing, boom, like just big waves. Big waves. Strength in those waves. Yet on the East Coast we have hurricanes and the flooding comes, at least here, comes from the oceans. The oceans push in to the creeks, the streams, the rivers. They fill up, they overflow, they flood. Water can be extremely powerful. Very powerful, and yet you can go to a lake or a pond somewhere and it might just be completely silent and still and calm. Now the moon controls water, has its ebb and flow, and it does affect the tides. The moon does. It affects the tides. So when we think of water, a lot of times we think of water in just its format as the ocean, the pond, the lake, the streams, the creeks, the rivers. But do we think outside of that? Do we think rain? Oh, it's raining. And I'm one who gets a little bleh when it rains. Yeah, I know, I'm a summer girl. Sunshine, that's me. So when it rains, it's cloudy, it's gloomy. I don't like to be out in the rain. I think I melt or something. There was a movie about that. And I just don't, I'm not a rain person. I'm not saying I don't ever want it to rain, because obviously I do want it to rain. We need rain. But here's the thing. When I get in that mood of like, oh my gosh, rain, why is it raining? Because like tomorrow it's going to rain. It's my day off and it's going to rain. Why? But rain is cleansing. Rain is cleansing. If you are feeling blah, get out there and let it wash away the blahs. It is cleansing, it is purifying. So rain is a good thing. Rain is a water element, and sometimes we forget that. What about snow? I mean, that's water. I have jars of snow water. And it takes a lot of snow in a jar. I mean, I have like the quart-size mason jars. And whenever it's snowed here, I've gone out and I've collected fresh fallen snow because I want snow water to use for whatever spell. I'll pack that thing. Oops, sorry. I'll pack that thing solid. By the time it melts, you get like this much water. So it takes a lot of jars to get a decent amount of snow water, just so you know. But guess what? Snow, element of water. Hail. Hail does a lot of damage. Element of water. Water that's mad. Go out there and you get hit in the head with the hail. It hurts, you know. So very, very powerful. So, but we always think of water in this, in its unstructured form like that. What about our tears? What about our sweat? Do you know we're like 70 or 80% water? So we have blood, but we're 80, I think 70 or 80% water. What about the womb? What about where the baby, you know, the fetus lives? Water. Because why? If you're pregnant, oh my God, my water broke. Woo! That fetus needed the water to live. Right? So, but we don't think of that as element of water. But it is. It's the element of water. What about, let's take the ocean. How about the seaweed? How about all the creatures that live in the water? What about the shells? What about driftwood? Oh, well, no, not driftwood, because that's wood, that's of earth. So it is. It is also of water. That's why it's called driftwood. It's been in the water and it's drifted. And that's why driftwood is so amazing to look at. It's beautiful. Driftwood is beautiful. I have a few pieces that I have found that has washed up on the beaches, and small pieces. So it is element of water as well as element of earth. Elements meet each other. Elements work together at times, and they also work against each other at times. So we forget about that. Water is emotion. Now, oh, you're so emotional. Well, okay. Empaths are very emotional. They feel everything. And usually they feel, they feel the sad, they feel the pain, they feel the hurt. A lot of empaths, I'm only speaking what I know. A lot of the empaths that I know who refuse to work on shielding and grounding and protection because they feel like that's a selfish move. They are the ones that hate to say no. I get it. It feels selfish. I get it. But if you say I can't, then you can't. If you can't shield yourself, if it doesn't work, try something else. But there's that overwhelmingness a lot of times if you're empath. But what about the happy-go-lucky, the bubbly ones? The ones that are just, we're like, oh my God, they're so, that's an emotion. Like, that's an emotion. What was that? Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't go over there. Fear. Fear is an emotion. All of those things. Anxiety, fear, sadness, happiness, elation, love. Those are all emotions ruled by water. So like I said, water typically doesn't have a form. The ocean doesn't really have a form per se. It's stopped by land. Water only takes form, for the most part, only takes form when it is contained. Inside this cup, look, it's clear, it's hot water. I drink hot water. I don't always drink tea because sometimes I don't want any flavor. Sometimes I just want the warmth. I don't know why. It's comforting to me. So is tea. Look, I love the heck out of some tea. I'm a coffee drinker also. And I like hot chocolate. But sometimes I don't want any flavor. But I don't want, and I know I need to be hydrated, but I don't want cold water or, you know, refrigerated water. I want hot water. So that's what I'm drinking is hot water. That's funny. But so a cup is the container for the water. It's the vessel for the water. Cauldron is a vessel for the water. A jar, it's the vessel for the water. So we see water takes form based on its container. So, okay, so water is, at least for me, you do you. For me, I use cardinal directions. Water is west, and the colors that correspond with it are blue and green. I have known people that use black because deep down in the ocean or deep down in the lake, it's black. I mean, you can't see your hand in front of your face. So I do understand that as well. On the Witch's Pyramid, which you know I follow, water is to dare. You have to dare. When you're doing something, you have to dare to do it. You have to be able to go with the flow. If you're doing your magic, you got to go with the flow. You just got to go with the flow. If it doesn't work, there's a reason why. Just go with the flow and work on something else. I chose for our card today, this is the Wildwood Tarot, and this is the card that I chose, and this is the Ace of Vessels. That's what they call their cup card, is the Ace of Vessels. Did you look at that? Okay, and right here it says the waters of life. Water is life. Water is life. So what I took from this card, I did read the book, by the way. I have a difficult time reading the Wildwood Tarot. For me, it takes on a very druid approach, and which is fine, and this is one of my favorite decks, but I have difficulty interpreting the cards in a spread. I can take one card and I can look at it and I can tell you what I feel from it and what I see from it, which is what tarot is all about. But I wanted to take something, I wanted to see what the book said about the Ace of Vessels. And this is the card that I pulled because it did, to me, it spoke water. Our emotions need to be harnessed for positive ends, instead of suppressing our needs and becoming detached. Water for me is more than just healing. So it is about increased wisdom. It is about increased psychic abilities. I like to scry water different ways. Sometimes I'll put a drop of oil, or I'll put a drop of oil and then maybe some food coloring in it. I like to take the cauldron out on a full moon, bright full moon on a clear night, and put water in it. And when it's still, completely still, I like the reflection of the moon to shine down into the surface of the water and scry the moon in my cauldron. So yeah, so water takes on a lot of things. All right, so for what you're going to need, if you're following along and you want to do a ritual, or if you want to wait until we get to that one and then see if you want to do it, you can always wait and get your supplies and do what you need whenever you feel like it. There's no time. Sorry, my things are being weird around here. Electronics. I've been having an issue. It's not even retrograde, and my computers and phones, everything is being crazy. All right, obviously you saw the blue candle, so we're going to need the blue candle. Blue color of water. I chose blue. This is what I chose to represent the element of water. You can see that I have already done my middle line. I divide the candle in two. Me and then water. My introduction to water and what I'm asking to receive from water. All right? And then I've already done my inscribing on the candle and on the bottom as well. On the top is my name. This is my introduction. From the middle out to the wick is my introduction. So I'm sending that out. I am sending out to the element of air my name that I'm going to use, whether you want to use your real name, your given name, your magical name, whatever name you wish to introduce yourself to the element with is what you're going to use. And then this part, the second half of the candle is coming into you. This is what I'm asking to receive from water. All right? And just an FYI, now you don't have to do it, you can do whatever you want, but just an FYI, what I have been doing on the other two candles and this one as well, remember I talked about all of the elements have their strengths and their weaknesses. I don't always want their strength, not always. Sometimes I want the calm, soothing, healing, but I don't always use water for healing. Sometimes I use water for force. So those things have been put on here as well with the intention of for the highest good. All right. Now, I might have told you at some point too, I have a friend who, yes, I do. I have a friend who is also from California. And she went home on a visit and went to Laguna Beach, which was one of my old hangouts, and she brought me a jar, it's a fairly large jar, of Laguna Beach ocean water. I have never been so jazzed in all my life. One way to get to my heart, bring me something of nature. So she brought me the Laguna Beach ocean water, and I don't like to use it because it's such a treasure for me. But I have taken some of that water, I still have the jar, and I just put it in a little oil bottle like this. This is just a 2-gram oil bottle, and I put the water in here so that I could use it when I'm anointing things that I need just to use the salt water from, and this is salt water. Yeah, so you could bring me sand, you could bring me a rock. Have a customer, oh, he's a sweetheart. Have a customer who walked the Appalachian Trail and found a little piece of white quartz stone up there and thought of me and brought me that stone. I still have it. I am easy to please, let me tell you. All right, so I'm going to take this water, because what I'm going to do first, remember, is, this is going to take me a minute. I should have gotten my little dropper. Okay, I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to put my finger over it so I don't lose all the water. And because what I'm doing, I'm cleansing it. That's all I'm doing is cleansing it. And by cleansing, I just mean that I have inscribed, and so when you do that, there's all these little pieces of wax from where you've written your things, and I just get that off. Plus, I just am getting any other energies off of it that may be on there that I really don't want. Maybe somebody touched it, and I just don't want their energies on there. So I give it a little bath, and it's getting this one. I thought it was appropriate to use my Laguna Beach ocean water, since we're dealing with water. All right, so it's had its little bath. Now, this is oil clarity for clarity. It has lemon verbena in it, the herb lemon verbena. You can kind of see it in there floating around. And that is what I'm going to anoint it with. So what I'm going to do is, and this has a big mouth, so I know, so do I. So I'm going to take my finger, I just let it drip on there, from the middle out, up to the wick. It's clarity oil, because I want to make sure that the element of water is clear with who I am, that when I do my spell work, that they receive my words, my intention, with clarity. And I'm going to do the bottom. Oops, I didn't get any. I'm going to do the bottom half, including the bottom, towards me. I'm not rubbing the candle either way. This one I rub out, and from the middle I rub in, because this is what I'm asking the element of water to bring to me. Clarity and everything else that I wrote on my candle. All right? All right, set that down. I'm going to take some of my hot water, and that isn't why I brought the hot water, by the way. I actually thought I had my little dropper out here, but I didn't see it. Ooh, it smells good. All right. I am not using any herbs for this one. So the air candle, the herbs that I had, I just sprinkled around the candle, if you remember. Fire, I did roll in cinnamon. But water, I am not. Remember with air, remember with fire, I asked you to, I believe it was, get the seeds. We had seeds. And because the seeds are what contains the life. So, and now you're going to need a vessel. I don't care if it's a cauldron, if it could be a little pot, a little flower pot, something that can hold the water, something that can hold water. It could be your cup if you want. And that is what you're going to need. And what you're going to do is, I want you to look at the shape. I want you to look at the shape of your vessel, and I want you to notice that it appears empty. But remember, we talked about that. It's not really empty. It's full of air. So, element of air is already within the vessel. So I want you to just, this week, you're going to be working with the element of water. So I want you to start looking around and figuring out where is water in your life. When you cook your boiled potatoes tonight or your spaghetti, you got to boil the water. That's a water. And remember, your pot is earth filled with water. The bubbles are air, and the steam then being, the pot being earth, the bubbles being air, the heat from the stove being fire, and the pot being earth, air, fire, water. So you got it. I'm getting confused. All right, so just start examining, where is water in your life? Where is it? Are you feeling emotional? That's water. We just had Saturday was a dark moon, so we're just now coming into the waxing moon. And how does that change things? How do you feel? How is it affecting those things around you? What things around you have you never realized? Oh, water. So that's how it works. I'm looking right now at my daffodils outside, and I see earth, and I see the yellow daffodil, which is fire. We talked about a little bit about that. But guess what? It needs earth and it needs water to survive. So all of the elements are contained. All 4 elements is everything in the universe. Okay? All right. So hope you liked today's video. Start working on the element of water, getting your things prepared, getting your vessel. You should have your seeds, and give you one last look. The beautiful deck, by the way, the Wildwood Tarot. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next week for our 4th element. Bye, guys.